Tutorial.
Tutorial.
This is improvising as we go, so we're kind of just
We have
hoping
no clue how we're gonna make this. We're going in dry.
Jesus, Dick. Why would you say it like that?
Because we're not prepared.
Oh.
So you're making a mesh form.
Yeah, basically.
To my face.
To your face.
To my face.
Custom fitted so that it will not have weird, like, laying across. It'll actually be formed to your skin.
And you find this stuff at the craft store, just for, like, mask making.
Yep, that's what it's for.
It's just a giant sheet of meshy-looking stuff.
Metal stuff, yeah.
Meshy metal. Looks kind of creepy.
It kind of
With
does.
the mouth in it right now.
Because the mask itself isn't actually creepy.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not creepy. It's got teeth and
I
everything.
can't wait to make the teeth.
It's really the funnest part. Like, this is the difficult part. This is the unfun part.
I'm even excited for the
As I shove it onto your face once more.
gums.
Giving me an idea of where you got these cute little cheeks. I got to make room for them.
Like a squirrel.
You make sure it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
No, just stab my face.
The way that I'm doing this is I am slowly snipping away a little bit at a time. And I'm folding it, the very edges over outward, away from her face, so that it doesn't scratch her as I test it out. I'm just kind of rolling the edges. This side is what I've already done, so see how that kind of really fits right up to her cheek.
Right
there.
up to the cheek.
And then this side is the one I'm still working on. Alright, so the wire bending experiment so far has been good. I'm trying to figure out what kind of glue will actually get this to stay. Right now I'm kind of slathering it in fabric glue. This is the liner I'm trying to put on it, something to pad between the harsh metal and the face.
You might need to sew it.
Hadn't thought about that. So I am cutting myself out a little liner now to pad between the metal and the face of the person wearing it. I have it completely fitted to the nose and the chin, leaving a hole for the mouth. For this mask has a big teethy mouth part. So I've custom fitted that because, as you can see, like if I were to put this on, this would not fit my face very well.
I have a tiny face.
This is designed specifically for Rabbit's face. Alright, so the liner's all stitched on. And now it looks pretty fabulous.
Fabulous.
So I did a layer of Mod Podge after I did the lining on the wire mesh, which is stitched on. And I'm doing that to let it stiffen up a bit so that it's not as easily crushed or bent out of shape. Now I gotta let it dry for 100 years. Right now I've got my few layers of Mod Podge added to it to stiffen the mask up a bit so that it can't get crushed easily. And I'm kind of pressing down the metal, make it less lumpy underneath the top layer. I'm also going to put on a kind of a non-stretch cotton fabric lining inside of it. This isn't going to be visible at all from the outside, but what it's going to do is sort of smooth out where this metal has a texture to it, because without a lining of any sort, with the fact that I have kind of a stretch pleather, it's going to come out lumpy, and it's going to show that texture of that metal. So since this is such a thin pleather fabric, we're going to get a layer of cotton on it, a layer of non-stretch on it before we get the actual final layer of fabric on it. With the lining, I did a pattern with paper, and how I did that was to just kind of lay the paper along my mask and give it little snips till it conformed to the shape of the mask itself. And I used that to create a fabric version of it. And then I stitched up each of those little notches so that it would have the same shape and dimensions as the mask itself. Stitch this now, the liner, to the mask all the way around the edges, and those little notches help it to actually be able to lay correctly with it and not bunch up really badly. So they allow it to curve with the cheekbone, the indentions by the nose. They kind of give it these little half circles that give it dimension and shape without getting wrinkly. So I'm going to stitch that on all the way around the edges.
A phone case.
Yes.
Smart idea. For the gums.
Yeah.
And fake nails.
It was a doll hair at Walmart.
It was a doll hair.
So I was like, will never get a home. Let's tear this shit up.
Let's see. It's not going to stay red, of course, but... Where I'm at right now is I have the liner on all the way. It's stitched around to the back. I know it looks kind of messy, but that's going to get covered up. And I am working with two pieces of the pleather with the good sides together. And I have cut a hole the exact size of the mouthpiece. And I'm going to stitch that hole all the way around with a simple loop stitch, so that when I flip it right side in, it's got a nice smooth edge for the hole. So then we attach that, push it through here, and be able to open it up to have a mouth. So this was flipped inside out and put through the hole, and then just lined up, and I stretched it from the mouth out. So that piece that I had stitched got flipped inside out, and now that seam is right here along the inside of the mouth of the form I made. I have a line of stitch now that I have run through both layers of fabric along the top edge of the entire mask. I haven't done the bottom edge because this extra flap right here is going to allow me to make the neck part and attach it easily. I won't have to struggle to attach it to the mesh here. I can actually attach it just to the pleather. But the top part, I have run a stitch to make it smooth, and then I'm going to fold it under and stitch along that so we get this nice, really clean edge up here. And then I'm just going to loop stitch this into the back part of the mask here. I am actually just trying to figure out how I'm going to structure this mask. So it's a really weird mask, and it kind of goes like all the way around the face and the neck, the whole damn thing.
Just watching this whole process of you like being put into a gimp mask is pretty scary.
It's not a gimp mask! So I am actually just trying to custom fit this. So I'm live pinning it. Right now it's kind of pinned not the correct direction. So once I cut this and trim it all to fit her face, I'm actually going to have to flip this seam towards the inside so that it's not visible, and then hand stitch it. Right now I'm just trying to kind of custom fit where this is going to sit on her neck. And I need you to turn your head a little bit so that you're facing straight ahead. Make sure that they're facing the exact forward from... Make their neck nice and straight. That's it. This is a really hard part to be serious during, because you're literally pinning someone into a mask.
You're pinning a human being
into
a mask.
Pinning a human being into a mask.
And hope they can get out one day.
One day. One day.
Not
one
today.
day you'll be free.
Not today. No.
Basically, I'm just pinning it along until the bit that I want here, until the pieces that I need to look smooth. So I need them flush against the skin and not having a whole lot of wrinkling. And so I kind of pinch and pull with the fabric until I get it to look really nice and smooth.
Where's that light coming? Is that your camera?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Basically, once I have this all seamed out, it's gonna look like that. And it's just a matter of working with your person's neck and person's face to make sure it is all very well fitted. So like you see how this is a little flippy flappy still? And I'm gonna have to put a zipper right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take these pieces of fabric, pinch it up kind of real close to her skin, and very, very, very carefully, so as not to stab her, poke it through the part of the fabric that's not contacting her skin.
Is that essential? Like, not stabbing
Not
them?
stabbing them is pretty essential to this process.
Okay.
You're not helping.
No.
And a lot of trust is also essential. This isn't absolutely necessary. You could possibly
Maybe do it to a head.
maybe do it to a wig head or something. It's just, it depends on how close you need the fit to be. For the person, this would probably be a lot easier to do on a wig head.
And how trusting the two
And
are.
how much trust you have between the two of you, yeah. But if you're wanting that exact perfect fit, this is probably the best route to go. Or if you have enough visibility and are pretty brave and you're doing this for yourself, you might be able to pin it into a mirror. But that's kind of a matter of how customized you want your mask to be. Trimming away the excess fabric. And I'll basically have all of my pieces the right size and shape after I'm done with this part.
Safety first.
Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. That's cool. That's good. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, tore right through that shit.
There we go.
I grinded off the link that I did not want. There we are. Oh, that's hot. Damn. Well, that was some metal that just got
Use
finished being gray.
caution before.
So Dremel tools are a little bit dangerous, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do with a parent.
Yeah.
We don't because we're our own parents.
I'm an adult. I'm allowed to handle equipment. She's over here like, your turn to have the safety goggles on.
No.
Safety first.
There you go. Oh, you're so cute. Look how cute he is. Look how Get out of my way.
So for this part, we're just taking acrylic nails, just whatever size you want, and then they're a little too big and long and bulky to be teased, so I'm just sanding them down. I sand down the part that's not curved, because I'm just going to leave that for the detail of where the teeth are going to come out of the gums. So I'm just going to sand this part down flat, and it's just a whole lot faster if you sand it down with this thing. You can have the choice of clipping them first and then cutting them, or the drill is actually fast where if you want you can just start then after you get down to its size, this obviously isn't the size, but see the little bits that are hanging off of it from the sander? I can just take a piece of the sand block and you can just pick off the little ratty parts and they come right off. Then you'll have your flat edge once you work with it some more. It's just a little bit tedious and time consuming, just don't rush with it and you'll get the flat piece that you want. I'm actually gonna flatten this a lot more now. I'm pretty happy with the size, so I'm just gonna start basing all my teeth on the same size tooth now. So now we're just gonna paint them. After I filed 500 teeth. That's what it felt like. It's about like 12. I hate that you can't see it. F it, it's an old table.
Well, no, don't paint on the table, but this is what they look like.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's like you're getting a nail painting, but you're not.
Upside down nail.
Upside down nail, ooh. And just, holy hell, okay, this is fun. We're having a good time. God damn it, I did paint the table. I give this tutorial a thumbs up for its quality. Holy crap. So then you're gonna smash it on the table some. Agony! So I won't paint the table or do this to my fingers at all because I'm a genius. Just gonna take some Sculpey, mold it into whatever the hell this is. Make a little finger out of clay, just stick it on there, and then it holds it for you. And then you don't have to be like me. And you can just give it an even paint. Yep.
Can do that with all of them. All of them.
Where I am at right now, I have, like I said I was going to, I folded down that flap that was up at the top and trimmed it, and gave it a nice loop stitch to make it flush with the top line of the mask. I have stitched all of those bits that I measured. I stitched them on the inside, also with a loop stitch, which is why I cut so very close to what fit her face. Then I added these flaps in the back, which are just same pieces of pleather. They were stitched well inside out, flipped right side in, and that made them nice and square. See, there's my seam line. Kind of similar if you've ever made a plushie where you start with it inside out and then you flip it. That's what I did with these to make them nice and sturdy. 2 layers of fabric. Then I measured it around her neck to make sure it would fit, and I added snaps in the back. I recommend anytime you're doing any mask-like object, because this is cosplay and you're probably going to be wearing a wig, give them some adjustability, or yourself some adjustability here, so that if your wig is thicker than your hair normally is, then you can do it on a larger or smaller size. So there's those. Then where I had pinned it in the front and pinched it for her neck, I have actually installed a zipper, which is, flip this inside out for you. It's like this. You can buy these at craft stores. They're easy to shorten up. There's usually instructions in the package for how to make them a custom length. And so I've just stitched that to the inside of that neck front. And it looked a little weird at first because it started to cause it to curve. But if you keep stitching right along that curve, you will eventually get a very, very nice structure to your overall mask here. So right now I am just running a simple inline stitch right along the sides of the zipper. A word of advice, make sure that it's just a little bit away from the tines of your actual zipper. Give yourself just a little space so that your zipper doesn't always get caught on it. Now this mask was meant to have a visible zipper, so that's why we use such a thick one. It could be done with an invisible zipper if you don't like the aesthetic of this, but I liked the nice thick zipper. It looked a little more canon. So I am working on the eye patch portion of the mask, and this is just a simple square and a triangle with the end chopped off, and I've just done this the same way I would do any other, you know, sew it inside out, flip it. I've added a stitch around the edge to give it some texture and a little bit of depth. And then this is the strap portion, which is done exactly the same way. So this is going to come around the head, and I'm going to install 2 snaps here on the back side, not visible, so that it can be put on and taken off. And then this will connect up to the mask over here on the side, completing the overall design. That gives you a good idea of exactly how that looks laid out.
My part's not done yet,
Really
so it's kind
freaking
of
me out.
weird because you can still...
These are our now cut and nail polished teeth. We've sized them, gotten them all lined up. And what I'm doing is I am filling the cup portion of the tooth with E6000 epoxy. And this is a slow drying thick glue that holds really, really strongly even to fabrics. So I'm filling that up. I am then placing the tooth carefully and cleaning up with a needle any epoxy that gets outside of the line of the tooth. You can clean it up pretty quickly. It doesn't dry immediately. It takes about 6 hours to dry completely. So you got a little bit of room to play with it, but it's kind of a very, very careful process to make sure that you don't gloop the glue everywhere. And I'm wearing my safety gear because this stuff is kind of fumey. This glue can put off a lot of fumes, so. Lining all them teeths up. Being careful to make sure that your teeth are far enough away from your zipper that your zipper will be able to move without knocking all the teeth off. This is probably the most sensitive, intense part of the process. So the last few steps that I did to complete it were I added some snaps here to the eye patch just to give it a little bit more stability on the mask itself. So that snaps into place. and I stitched the mouth in once the teeth were dry. I did kind of improvise as I went to stitch it just so that it would conform to the shape, so I stitched it all the way through here and here, and I skipped some stitches around where the teeth go, and then stitched along here and here, leaving a gap for the nose for breathability. You can kind of see on the inside where that is. It's stitched all the way down here, and stitched on the corners where fabric was up against fabric. And leaving some of those gaps in that does allow for just a little bit more flexibility and movement in the mask. So we have a working openable zipper here. So we found some lids that go on the face primer that I use, and we're gonna cut these in half to use them for the metal bits that stick out of the neck part of Kaneki's mask. So I need to cut them down to about half their size and then give them a good grind to be able to paint them and have the paint actually stick. So, safety first. Because we did not actually install a real hole through this part of the mask, but there is supposed to be a metal rivet there, we are going to create a false rivet for appearances with a little clear E6000 and a jump ring. A tip with E6000 is if it's an old bottle, clear away the thick, extra gunky stuff before you try and find the nice fresh stuff underneath. Very delicate portion of the process because things are so tiny. Alright, the whole back is covered. We're going to place it. Place once. Carefully remove hands. Now, what I always do with E6000, I press, I clear my needle, and then before it's dry, I scoot away, clean up any excess. And there we go. We are going to want to just let that dry for as long as possible. Generally, 6,000 takes 24 hours to dry. This is such a tiny amount, it will probably take like 6. We've attached one rivet to right where the cord comes from. And now I need to put 4 rivets on the eye patch portion of the mask.
This is my baby, my child.
Might be reasonably easier to place them on the eye patch.
It's beautiful.
So, rinse, lather, repeat. Repeat the process.
Ooh, more E6000s inhale. I'm gonna pass out as Kaneki.
The whole thing smells like E6000, doesn't
Actually, since the teeth have like had time to air out, it doesn't.
Okay, so I highly not recommend huffing your mask until it's dried thoroughly. Until all of the E6000 that you've used in the process has dried. Another one bites the dust. That was a good execution. Good job.
Excellent.
A digital ghoul must have gotten to my computer and ate all of the neck bolt footage. Essentially what happened is we cut the caps in half like you saw, but then we sanded them all over so that we could spray them with metallic spray paint and the spray paint would hold.
Now, we are going to be attaching these also with E6000 to here and here on the side neck portions of the mask. So once you have your placement, and I measured this on the head of the person that's going to be wearing it to locate the correct placement, which is a 1/4 inch from this seam and centered between these 2 seams. We are going to run a bead of E6000 the edge of this. Not too much because we do not want it to like goop out really badly when I press this down, but enough to hold it, hopefully for good. Hopefully forever. I'm gonna start with the edge I used. Measure my 1/4 inch here and press it into my fabric. I'm gonna hold it down for several seconds just to make sure it gets good and bonded. And this will probably need to dry for a full day to be really safe with it. Flip to the other side and repeat. Making sure it's about the same distance from the seam. That's the other side. And depending on how tight that holds later, I might come along with another needle with that E6000 and just press some in around the edge. It'll just depend on how well that bonds. And there we have the completed Kaneki mask. Everything is done and glued and sewed in place.
But this is just the whole snap it, and then you have mask with the snap-on, and I'm gonna put it on. This is my son. He may look cute, but he's actually the devil. But yeah, this is how it looks. So I'm trying not to spin in this chair a lot. And then this is it from the back. And that's that. And it's really hard for me to see, so I'm gonna just, woo. Here I am.